Broad Street Review podcast is an extension of Broad Street Review, Philly's home for arts, culture, and conversation, an online arts and culture journal covering the greater Philadelphia area. I'm your host, Darnell Radford.
Today on the podcast, we take a look at the road that brought One-Man Nutcracker to its 5th year on stage for the holidays. Chris Davis, solo artist extraordinaire, brings all the magic of the timeless classic as one man in many roles. On stage through December 29th, here is my interview with Chris Davis for One-Man Nutcracker. And welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I'm in the virtual studio to talk about One-Man Nutcracker. Here in Philadelphia, it just isn't the holiday season without One-Man Nutcracker. Now celebrating its 5th year on stages, not just here in Philadelphia. And so we're here with the originator, creator, character, everything, Chris Davis. Chris,
hello,
welcome.
Be happy to be back here.
Welcome back.
It's been a year.
Yes. I was thinking earlier, I went to see the 40-year-old ballerino, but we didn't get a chance to chat at that time. So I thought it'd be a good time to just sort of touch on that.
Yeah,
how was the experience of bringing the 40-year-old ballerino to life?
Yeah, I'll say, and you saw the show. It's a very personal show, especially because it involves my own, probably two most serious romantic relationships and the ending of those relationships. And so, making that show was, in some ways very difficult to just relive some of these experiences. However, similar to One-Man Nutcracker is that 40-year-old ballerino is celebrating, I think at its core, change, you being the driver of that change. And it's celebrating that you can always do that no matter what age you are. And that we all know that as we get older, and unfortunately that is the only way this goes, apparently, you don't get younger. Although the funny part is, I would say, when you do ballet, which I've gotten into, in a sense, it does make you younger in the sense that I feel more flexible and healthier. And sorry, I'm coughing, but just because it's a long day and lithe and all that. And so in a weird way, ballet or a physical discipline, I think kind of reverses a little bit of the aging process. But I think to me, it's always important for people to remember that life is not stagnant. There's always a chance to change. And when I say change, I really mean it can be anything. But that you are in control of that. And so to me, 40-year-old ballerino is about okay, and this is not my only show to do this, but going through these breakups and when you go through a breakup, what do you take away from it, and in this case, and this was not intentional, but I took away an entire art form of ballet. I took it for me because all of a sudden I discovered that I really enjoyed going to ballet class. And and my teacher, Amy Novinsky, that person, Amy, was introduced to me by my ex-girlfriend. And, that's why this connection happened. So that Hallie is her name, and she created that. And so in that sense, relationships end, it's very hard. You can be bitter, and there's definitely things, but I think I feel thankful that Hallie gave me a glimpse into the ballet world, and that I got to observe it for so long. I lit the ballet dancer. I saw her discipline. I saw how hard she worked. I saw how she dedicated her life to it. And eventually she was gone, and and I thought, well, that seems cool. Why can't I do that? Just because I'm not going to be professional doesn't mean I can't pursue it in a professional capacity or pursue it with the assumption that I could, and that's how I treat it. I treat it seriously, as if I could one day be in the Philadelphia Ballet. I know that's not going to happen. Well, I could be Drosselmeyer. That's my goal. So a side goal is I want to be Drosselmeyer in the Nutcracker. But, you know, what happens if you pursue it in that way? And then you discover, what do they say about, like, if you put thousands of hours into a hobby, that it can be, you know, a skill, it becomes, and it changes your life. And for me, ballet did that. And so 40-year-old ballerino is celebrating basically these last 2 years, which were hard. Heartbreak is hard, but all the time I put in, going into the studio every day, trying to get better at this art form that I have no business really starting at the age of 38. And so to me, that's the core of the show. And like, I'd say, I think people walked away with that feeling. And I was moved a lot by like how, you know, when you make plays and you can see that the audience leaves and you can see a little bit of their burden is lightened for even maybe that week. I mean, that's kind of why I do it, you know? I mean, I do think art can make the world a better place. And like, we can make people better emotionally by being open and available, because it's very scary to do, and not many people are comfortable doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna, like in my mix of questions, I was gonna ask something about like, how do you keep it fresh? But the thing is, like you just touched on it, you know, people walk away with feeling lighter, you know, because this is resonating with them in a way to say like, you know what, I can follow a similar path, or this path looks familiar to me already. And perhaps if by seeing this, like you went on a journey, documented it, and shared it. And I think if you would have just told people you went on this journey, we'd be like, oh, that's nice. But you also put it into your art, and now it's a time capsule that you can share all the time. And so that sort of elevates the fact that this is your life experience. And you know, so it sits in a different space, in a higher space, so that when everyone is aware of it, it's more meaningful because you went out of your way to package it for us to explore.
You know, and I think for me, why I did it is because I had to. Like so much art, I don't know if I felt like I had much of a choice. When I first started the show, I debuted 40-year-old ballerina with the Bearded Ladies at their cabaret 2 years ago at that fringe space at 2nd and South. And I was going through the time just sort of new to ballet still and just taking it seriously. And then I just put it away. I didn't know what else to do with it. I had no idea until literally a life moment happened where I ran into my ex at a ballet class. And then I wrote about that experience, and we went out to lunch after that. Just wrote about that, and that became a really key part of that play. But I had to live it, for me at least, to get there. And I'll say, yeah, I'm still living it. And strangely enough, that experience actually happened again recently, right before Thanksgiving, which was just like, I never thought it would happen twice. But, you know, I guess life is like a cycle.
Life says this worked the last time, so let's keep him writing. Let's keep him creating.
I mean, yeah.
These are like story prompts. They just drop into your life periodically.
Yeah.
So you can have fodder.
And I've not been prepared for a single one of them. And both times just completely caught me totally off guard. But, you know, it's a piece, and I'll just say 40-year-old ballerina will be back. It's going to the New York Fringe in April. It will be back in Philadelphia at Plays and Players at the end of February. And I haven't found a venue yet, but I'm hoping to bring it back for Philly Theater. Oh, yeah, Philly Theater Week. It'll be at Studio 34 in West Philly. So my plan is to do it there, Studio 34, and then I'll go to New York, do it in New York, and go back and forth between New York and Philadelphia, doing the show in both places.
Great. Yeah. So make sure, saturate the space with your work. Yeah, I'm glad to see that that's continuing. I was glad to be in that space. It was sold out. It seemed like we were trying to squeeze additional people in there. Yeah. It was like this many people wanted to know about your journey, and so I think that was great, and I heard like a lot of positive feedback over the whole festival for it too. So that's great.
I hadn't done Fringe since 2019, since the pandemic, my own proper show. So from 2024, and now before 2019, I had done a show in Fringe for over 10 or 12 years straight. So it was a return for me to be a part of Philadelphia Fringe, which I had missed maybe more than I realized.
Yeah. And I know, and now it did feel like as the season was ending and the new season was beginning, that it felt like the mindset of theater goers was changing. You know me, I see a lot, which sounds like everything, but I'm missing a lot of things too. But
what a glorious problem to have. I'll say,
yes.
Small, Philadelphia, not the center of the arts world. I see a lot of things because we see each other all over the place. Yeah. There's always stuff I miss.
We have an abundance of art and conversations to share. So
and like that's what keeps me in this city for now. Such an important part of living here. I wouldn't be here if that didn't exist. I couldn't.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go back to the first year of One-Man Nutcracker. What was your headspace in there? It's a scrappy piece, but
oh my God,
even though there's a lot of support around it today, it still feels like authentic to its introduction. But talk about the first year and where you were in that, and then we'll move through how things had changed and grown.
Yeah, like in 2019, I was with my partner, and she and I together created the show. I wrote the show, I did the music, but she did the choreography. And we were both like totally taken aback at like how great the response was. And I had full plans to go to Edinburgh with One-Man Nutcracker in 2020 and New York. And so that all got put on a pause for the pandemic. And then time goes by. Haven't been back to Edinburgh since. In 2019, I had a formula where I would go to Edinburgh, I would do a show, and then I'd come back in Philly Fringe and debut a new show. And I was just sort of constantly, I'd make a new solo show every year. I think I did it for like 6 or 7 years. And so I was, it was a different world at this point, but I very busy, very much throwing myself into everything, not really, just, and it is good to have that mindset of just like, let's throw this play out there. It's not perfect. It's a mess. There are things wrong with it. There's writing that I think could still be improved today. But let's just do it. I don't want to sit on it. And, that is sort of I don't know if it means I'm impatient, but regardless, I don't like to sit on things too long. I just prefer to throw them out there and see what happens. Everyone has a different process. I don't think it's always the easiest the way I do it, because you can have a lot of failure, a lot of mistakes, because you're not, I didn't plan things. I just do them. The idea came from seeing her in the Nutcracker for many years, because I would attend it, and I was doing One-Man Apocalypse Now at the time, and her father, and he takes credit for the idea, so I'll give it to him. We all argued about who came up with the idea, but he said, well, why don't you do One-Man Nutcracker? And I remember, I think this is correct. And I was like, no, that's ridiculous. That's impossible. I couldn't do that. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, oh my God, that is, because you look at the Nutcracker, and it's a great idea, blending dance with theater, with music, the big three into one show, into an iconic show that draws in audiences because it has the word Nutcracker in it. And so I thought, and I do have a formula for adapting things, popular culture things, into a solo show, because I had just done it with One-Man Apocalypse Now, taking a 3-hour film and doing it in 60 minutes. So I was like, well, why can't I take a 2-hour ballet and then do it in 60 minutes? And it was really the same idea. And I learned that show, One-Man Apocalypse Now, helped me so much, because I made a bunch of mistakes with that one. that I fixed with Nutcracker. And I think part of the success of Nutcracker is how I fixed it. And the big fix was putting a frame around the Nutcracker story, where there's this ballet dancer falling on hard times and he receives a script in the mail, and it's One-Man Nutcracker, and all of a sudden he has to do it to discover like the beauty. It's not even the best frame. Honestly, it could be better, but it's at least a frame. Whereas in Apocalypse Now, I would have the audience come in, and I just jumped into it with no explanation and didn't tell you a single thing. Apocalypse Now starts with Martin Sheen losing his mind in a hotel room and like screaming and blood. And so when I start that show now, Apocalypse Now fans are like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But everyone else was like, oh my God, what have I walked into? No explanation at all. I never even, and I still think that's okay too. But I just, you learn from each show that you do, and you do get better if you keep at it. Like, you're not going to get worse. That's something to remember for the most part. If you get worse, whatever. But like, for the most part, you're just going to get better the longer you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, some people start out and they're just like geniuses or whatever, and they, I think of like pig iron stuff, and like, who knows, that stuff always seems so solid, but I'm sure there was a point where they were like just throwing stuff out there.
I think that's the thing. That's the thing about, like, I just watched this thing that was like, there's always a question about, should you pursue, secondary education or not? Like, because there's so many ways to acquire this knowledge, but there's this bouncing ideas off people that's very valuable, because you can live in a vacuum and think you have it all together, but like as soon as it bounces off the world, then you're starting to see how it would resonate. And so just like you said with One-Man Apocalypse Now, that resonated with people who love the film, who know all those beats. And then everybody else was like, I mean, they probably still enjoyed themselves, but like, what was happening, because they don't know where it is. But when I get into a situation like that, and I guess everybody's not like as hardcore a theater goer, I guess, as I might be, is that if I feel like I'm missing something, that is the part that's making me more curious.
Really?
And I feel like I need to do a deep dive, or at least have a conversation with myself. Let me unpack what I just saw from my perspective, and then see if there's supplemental information I can go get to fill in gaps, or go see it again, or have an interview. So I often have an interview, and my discovery is all of those things. I think people who may not know where this starts and where it ends,
I
how to get that
right attitude to have towards art.
Yeah.
I wish that attitude was more prevalent in the United States.
Yeah. Apparently, if you have a passion or a commitment to the arts and culture, that you might be woke.
You are. It's true, because you're awake.
Yeah.
Woke means to be awake, right?
I know. It is kind of interesting.
Being awake is actually, I like being awake. I like waking up.
Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of people who prefer to live in the darkness, which is kind of interesting. That we've all been conditioned to pursue education like it's valuable. We can learn things, and we can have roles and responsibilities that make our lives more fruitful. But at the same time, there's still people that are like, I know I don't understand that thing. I'm not trying to learn anything more about it. I'm gonna rest here in my ignorance and let that be it.
Yeah, I'll never understand that, but good luck to them. I think
not criticizing if you're happy, if you wake up every day, love being ignorant. I don't know.
It will come back one day. Like, I think everyone gets what they need in the end.
Yeah.
And even though you can live that way, there will be a day that you start to think. And if not, you don't. That's okay. There's every type of person.
Yeah. So, because it's been 5 years, there's been a lot of like word of mouth. There's a lot of buzz. Like, I feel like
this year is amazing.
Yeah. There's so much. People, they know what they want to look for. Unconsciously, they're probably thinking like, it's an hour. It's only an hour, go check it out, which I think is perfect for like, when you do it at Quigs, Yeah, it's like, because people just have a beer, we're sitting for an hour. It's a great show, fun. And everybody just wants to try to consume as much as they can, but also be meaningful. So I think that's why they're always championing like a shorter piece. It's like they're going to condense their message into an hour. That's going to be great.
Well, and like so many plays don't need the amount of time that they think they do, but I can think of, I don't know, so many plays I've seen recently where, you could easily, we could have cut 15, 20 minutes off this and we would have lost nothing.
Yeah. But that is always very interesting because it's sort of canonized, like it's published like that with all this extra in it. And I don't know if it's maybe us over time, we're just sort of, we're coming in with more of a foundation and so we don't need as much. Or it is an interesting thought to think about, like, why do we walk out of a show saying, that just had a lot more than it needed to have in it to get to its point? And this is why I say, like, the piece is just part of the conversation. The piece is like sort of the center that everything orbits around.
Yeah. So sometimes, I'm sure you saw a Good Person at the Wilma. In my opinion, that was the correct length for that play. So 4 hours, it was long, but I think it earned it. And there's no right, you know what I mean? It's you just do what you use the time you need, but don't inflate it.
Yes. So we were talking about word of mouth and how this is buzz, but like as time progressed, as you kept doing this, it reaches more people who can actually help you reach more people. And so talk about the press, because like when you have conversations, like I ignore all the press because I don't want to have a similar conversation.
Yeah.
And I think I have a benefit because I'm more long form, but what happens when you go to the press and you do all that? Like, what are they trying to get out of you? That is like soundbitey, and do you really have an opportunity to unpack the piece?
Well, I think one of the most. So first off, I'll just say I have a PR person this year, and I did last year as well. They're different people, but this year was Carson, and so what's been awesome is Gracie deals with all the press and then tells me, okay, so-and-so wants to talk to you, so-and-so wants tickets, so I don't deal with any of it. And they can write their reviews. So that's been really nice. But I do think, I help on the press release. And, I think you always have to answer the question when you're remounting a show, what makes it different this year? What makes it special this year in 2024? Even if you don't have a great answer, you should think about it. But for me, what's so awesome about One-Man Nutcracker is that the journey of the ballet dancing in particular. Last year, I probably weighed 15 more pounds or more. I've been doing ballet 6 days a week for an entire year. And that's not facetious. I really did it. And so inevitably, every part of the show has changed. My body's changed. My ability towards ballet has grown. And the cool part about it is that it's still not where I want it to be. I want it to be like virtuosic, which I don't know if I'll ever achieve, but I think that's what's cool is that means that the change just continues. So this year in particular has just felt like I feel healthier, like lighter, and more capable of doing the show in a way that in 2019 would be very foreign to me, that I didn't think about. And so that part of the show is just exciting for me because it's getting better. Like the show, it really is, but also I've gotten better as a performer. The more you perform, you do get better at it. I find moments still.
Yeah. You made a good point earlier. You said you felt like it wasn't ready, but you're like, you got to start. I can't wait. And the benefit to doing that, because I think a lot of people don't realize there's a process here, and they may not have a system that gives them, the space and kind of the peace of mind to know that this is going to take some time.
Yeah.
They're always aiming for it to be perfect out of the door.
Opening night.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it can evolve. Maybe it hasn't found itself yet, but you're like, this is what I got, And so, like, there's a benefit to starting when you have the foundations of whatever it is, because once it starts, you're having immediate ideas. Like, I can't change it now because I'm ready to. I got to do this run, and I might tweak it in between runs, But we get to. That's the plus side to coming back, because it's still you, but like you said, things are changing in you and in your technique, in your skill. So that's always different. But it's also, where are we in the world when you present this again? And what does it mean? What does it mean when you step out into the world after you experience this again, experience this in this moment? And that's the thing. Like, we don't question this for Shakespeare. Shakespeare is timeless, because we know that those stories still resonate, and we know that the interpretation is going to be different. So we want to see how this is going to be interpreted, and we want those key moments where we're like, that always gets me, And so we want to get back to those. So yeah, I think that's what's so great about all the work that you're bringing, all these one-person shows, because there is also a conversation about one-person shows, like, don't do well for the organization, like for a large company. And I'm just like, I don't know, maybe it's doing fine, and you just have unrealistic goals for a one-person show.
Yeah. That is always an interesting idea, because, like, they cost so much less to produce. So it's like, how are they doing well? But I do think a lot of people in this country have a view of one-person shows as somehow being less than a full theater piece or something. I don't know where that idea came from.
Yeah.
Popular media or something, but because they're all the same. It's just a play, to play with one person. So what? You need
There was a similar conversation about college theater, especially here. Like, when we've got the award show, we got the Barrymores, and so there was conversations over the years about, like, why are these productions eligible for either a limitation or an abundance of resource that they have. So it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's just competition you're not trying to see as competition. It doesn't have to be competition. It's just a diversity. There's so many options to consider. There's so many levels of theater.
One thing a thought that's really been occurring on the fact that this is the 5th year, and there are plenty of years I thought of not doing it, but I keep doing it. Name one play that's been produced in Philly since 2019 every single year for 5 years. There are no other plays that, what's cool about having a holiday play is that it gives you an excuse to revisit it each holiday, and a market to sell it in, because ultimately I have to do that. But what's so cool about it too is that I think of all the plays I've seen by young companies, DIY, that's, primarily the people that interest me in Philadelphia. And I support a lot of people that people don't know their names. They're new to Philly. They're younger. They're trying to make art on low budgets. I go to a lot of those shows. And often, they do it, they have a big run, and that's it. And it never comes back, for the rest of their life. Like, that was it. That was the moment for that play. And for me, I feel like having the trick of a holiday play has given me the privilege of being like, wait, Christmas is back, so I guess I'm going to do this again. But it's allowed me to develop something over a long period of time with an audience building. And I wish that more people could experience that. I think, in a way, holiday plays or stuff like that, those are the great ways to do that, to trick your, to be, I have to do it again. It's an Easter play. I do it every Easter, whatever it is. But it allows you to see, just to see the play get so much better, like it has improved so much from 2019. It is not recognizable. The script is almost the same. Many of the words are the same, but there is just so much development that's happened from time passing, me passing, and really me taking ballet class. And I just think I've been feeling this year in particular very privileged that I've been given myself a gift of my own Christmas gift, but also like, when people are like, oh, you're doing it again, again, like, yeah, it's Christmas, of course I'm doing it again. But like, that I get that I can have that excuse. It's a Christmas show, so I do it every Christmas, and I don't justify it. I see so many great plays that just get once and done, and they disappear, and no one ever sees them again, or stuff like that. And you just wonder what would happen if people gave themselves years of development. And it's like, sounds crazy to people who have a budget for that. Well, solo shows are one way of doing that. When people tour a solo show and go to Edinburgh, you're workshopping it every day. You're changing it. So I think in a lot of ways, and I will say, Edinburgh, everything I did there 6 years in a row, over, 500 shows of 6 different plays. And I was just developing all of them the whole time. I'd come back and they'd always change. And every time I produce a show in Philadelphia, I'm like, you know what? This is my Edinburgh. It's called Philadelphia. I'm going to treat it like I would treat the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
And that's why my flyers and posters are everywhere. Like, just because it's Edinburgh, I'm not doing what Philadelphia does. I'm going to treat it like there's a big theater festival and I have to compete against all these people, and I'm going to put my stuff everywhere. Yeah. I think I keep telling people, if I get a chance, like, just do it, do that when you make a play. Make sure everyone knows about it. Tell everyone advertise it nonstop. There's nothing wrong with that. Like this year in particular, I'll say, Darnell, I was like, I am treating this play as my full-time job. This is my job. And I'm not going to apologize about my job. I'm going to embrace it. I'm not going to shy away from saying to one of the principal dancers who taught one of my ballet classes, hey, Sterling, here's a flight. You want to come to my show, One-Man Nutcracker? He's in the Nutcracker. He's literally one of the, and he's like, oh, thanks so much. I don't know. I would not have done that a few years ago. Even for me, I'd be nervous. This guy's a principal dancer. But just trying to be like, all right, I'm just going to be unapologetic. Just tell everyone. I saw the Nutcracker, and what I did, I went downstairs to the marketing table of Philadelphia Ballet. I was like, hey, I love this. I have a show too. It's right around the corner. I've been trying to contact you. I can't get anyone to respond to my email. Yeah. So what do you think about this? And I gave a stack of flyers to this woman. I don't remember her name. And just in an attempt at connection, even though that didn't come to fruition, I think having a little bit of that attitude towards your plays can really go a long way. Because in Philadelphia, I don't know, there's a lot of us apologize. Oh, yeah, you can check, or they're apologizing for our shows, not advocating for our shows. And like, if you can just say, hey, this is my job. Like, my job, I'm supposed to be good at my job. My job is to get people to come to my play, to pay money to be there. That's my job. Then you can, when a garbage man goes on the street, collects garbage, you don't leave 10 bags. You collect all the garbage. You don't leave any of it. Like, you're going to do your job well, or you're not. And so with art, it's tricky, because a lot of times I'm speaking for myself, nervous, or I'm like, I don't want to talk to them. Oh, I don't want to annoy them. I don't want to, it's too much, or what, and we get sensitive, and we're all sensitive because we're artists. And just saying like, no, this is my job. And you know what? I'm full-time. I'm going to work. And so this year, every time I had that in my mind, like, oh, it's too much. Don't do this. I just said, no, it's your job. Do it. You don't apologize. Ask them to come to your show. And I think a lot of artists that are successful are already doing this. And they just know that secret already. And I just, maybe I'm a little late to learning it, but.
No, I think and I'm so glad that you expressed that just now, because I've had several conversations with different artists over the past month or so and they are standing in their own way. And it's like, yeah, this fear of like putting yourself out there, like asking people to come support you or at least see your show and let you know, give their feedback. It is hard to ask. Like I used to say when I was younger that
especially when you're young.
I used to say I could ask for someone else before I can ask for myself. Like I might be an okay fundraiser for an organization because I know how to say what they need, but like for me, it was hard for me to like come to my friends for help, at times, but like I had to shake that because it's like you need people. Everything takes a village. So yeah, and you shouldn't produce art in a vacuum. Like maybe get it all out first, but then share it with like-minded people and people who might think different than you, because you want to understand if this resonates. You also want to know what affected them positively, negatively, and so on. And and I also feel like the other point I wanted to make about this show coming back the way it does is that if someone were to say like, oh, you're doing this again, it's assuming that the entire world has seen it already and no one else needs to see it again. But like the world changes. There's new people in the city now, and maybe they weren't here when One-Man Nutcracker was here last year. And so to be able to bring it back, you're going to get the people who love it and love your work. You're going to get the people who just heard about it. And then we have a constant influx of new college students because we're a college town. And so we have a lot of young adults who will come in and be like, what was this? It happened last year? This is the 5th year? Oh, we got to go see that. Like, that's a thing. And so you're just creating many more opportunities to engage with more people and for them to connect to you. And now they're going to follow your work just like we all do.
Yeah. Hard fought lesson,
Yeah.
You have to earn it.
Chris, I feel like if you were if you were like an organization, that I would be like some kind of like advisor or something. Like I feel like I've been here with you for a long time, and it's just so great to see your work evolve from Drunk Lion to the 40-year-old ballerino.
I know, it's hilarious. The first play, Drunk Lion, and and then it really tells its own story.
Yeah. And and then there was like this progression where you were no longer the performer, and then you hand the piece off to a couple other artists who put their stamp on it. Like that's a great sign too, when your piece is in a place where you can now hand it off and let other people interpret it. Yeah, it's just been good. One of my thoughts here was like, have you done this already, or have given any thought to doing a workshop?
I've been wanting to do one for a while, and I've been starting to think about it. I would really like to do one. So yeah, but I have to develop it. Especially like a solo creator workshop. I think it'd be awesome. I don't feel ready yet, but I do think that's probably next. I also think I'd like to publish my solo plays and see if other people take them and try them. That's something I have yet to really explore.
Yeah.
So I hope to. I'm also working on a book. So
great.
Yeah, because I have an MFA in creative writing fiction.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Right in May, and that was amazing. And I'll say, I spent all these hours writing, and my writing has improved a lot. And what's the cool thing about writing is that even as you get older, it can still get better. And the fiction MFA has helped me a lot to see things that maybe I didn't see before, and maybe to take myself a lot more seriously as an artist, which is something that I probably did not always do.
Yeah. Well, we take you seriously as an artist.
Yeah, that I appreciate. But it's important that it comes here, unfortunately, because I think for a long time, I probably really did not. And I had fun, but it's good to feel like you're turning a new page, and that's part of, again, the themes of both these plays is, change just turning a new page and trying new things, doing things that are difficult for you, that are scary. When you start doing them, it gets addictive. You're like, oh, this is crazy. I'm like a whole new person. And you actually do become another person, which is
absolutely
interesting.
So you're sharing your space at the Bloover.
Yes.
With Shakespeare and Clark Park's production of the complete works of Christmas Abridged.
Yes.
And this kind of reminds me of when companies like a Flashpoint theater company is no longer here, would do this sort of like this back-to-back of two small pieces for the holidays. And so do you see this as a is there a future in this combo?
I hope so. I mean, I had I got to see the show, Complete Works of Christmas Abridged. It's very moving. It's very personal. It's very much about Christmas and about being alone on Christmas, but then being not so alone because you're engaging in the movies,
Yeah.
And actually, after that play, I'll admit, I watched, about an hour of Die Hard the other night. And I was like, is it a Christmas movie? And it is a Christmas movie, but it's like, the movie's insane. Like, all the gun blasting and stuff. But yeah, when I watched Die Hard and like young Bruce Willis, all of a sudden I'm transported back to the 90s when maybe I first saw it and I thought, this Bruce Willis guy, he's the coolest guy that exists. And then I see Carl Winslow from Family Matters.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, the guy from Family Matters. And he's so good. He's totally underrated in that film because he kind of gets like, he doesn't get the attention that Bruce Willis does, but like so good in that.
Reginald Vell Johnson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he's so good in it. I'm like, Carl Winslow. Yeah, he's always Carl Winslow to me. But that movie, yeah. And so I loved Mandy's show. And I do hope that if it doesn't continue with me, that it does continue each Christmas because, the whole idea was the more Christmas shows we have, the more friends we have, that will benefit each of us. And I think it started when Brenna Gaffers came to my show last year and she decided to do this Christmas show with Shakespeare and Clark Park with Mandy. And like, I'm very, Brenna's a good friend of mine and I'm very like thrilled that she's joined me this Christmas. It's like, I'm a solo show and it's nice to feel another company give their time and energy to create art in this month of December, which is a great time.
Yeah.
Do Christmas shows.
It's a great time to
don't do it. Just keep it simple. Just make it about Christmas for the love of God.
It's a great time to do a show. It's a hard time to get people's attention though.
Because
they're being pulled in many, many directions.
Yeah. And, I still have a lot of my run left, so we'll see how it goes. So far, it's been by far the best run I've had. But it took me 5 years to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was not like that. Last year was definitely more up and down with attendance. And it was a struggle because I had too many shows. I didn't have a fringe show that year, so I didn't have anything to build up into it. But I'm still glad I did it. And at the end of that 19 shows, I was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And most of the shows were great. And so like, just returning to it. And, for me, Christmas starts October 1st. And that's a weird thing to say, but that's when everything starts for putting your show correctly. And this year I was earlier than ever with everything. I had all the promotion going in actually at the end of September. So right after the Fringe. And having 2 months, it's October, November, 2 entire months to advertise your show.
Yeah.
It's so helpful. And like the earlier you get started, there is no such thing as being too early, is what you realize. You just seriously, Philly Theater Week is right around the corner in April. Hopefully, by January or February, people will start promoting their shows. And that's what I plan on doing, and starting in February.
Yeah. And it is about impressions. It's like people you see it enough times, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's right. I saw it and I smiled, and then I saw it the next time, and then there was a whole little like thing, And then I listen to that and then I watch it. Like, there's a whole lot of buildup for a lot of art on social media. You know, particularly musicians are always teasing like an album's coming, or they tease something or a video. And we think about that and we know that, but we just assume that's on a much grander scale and that we shouldn't do that kind of promotion. But we should. And it's not as it's not as out of reach as you might think.
Yeah, it works. That's the best. Well, it actually will just bring more people to your show. So if you like that, sounds good to me. I mean,
absolutely. So in one sentence, how do you describe One-Man Nutcracker?
Oh, in one sentence, I would describe one.
We're in an elevator. Yeah. We're on the ground floor, and I'm going to 3.
Well, I could use a sentence I wrote, like, Nutcracker the ballet. Well, what if it was performed by one man?
Okay.
And I like that sentence because it's a question. Wrote that in 2019. It's still the copy I use. But I think I was like, why do I still keep that? Well, because it just says that the ballet, Nutcracker, right? So now I'm trying to find my audience. Well, what if? And I like the if because that imagination. Well, what if it's just one person? And you say, that sounds... And when you think about that, the Nutcracker has hundreds of people on the stage. One person, that's impossible. I know one person could do all that, right? That's not possible. And so you're setting up this sort of like, well, it's an impossible thing. And I'm going to do the impossible. And therefore, you will pay $35 to see it. But like, really though, I think that's a cool way to market it, is like, ask a question. Well, what if someone did that? And it's
also like unapologetic. Like, you're gonna buy a ticket, come see the show, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do my part, you do yours.
Exactly. And we apologize enough for ourselves as artists. I mean, the money is dismal. Often people don't treat it as a quote unquote real job or as a hobby or whatever the things. I can think of the millions of things people told me when I decided to pursue theater. So we might as well not apologize for our art at this juncture if we want people to take us seriously. That's really hard to do though. And I understand why it takes a long time to get there. And I still struggle with it. It's not like I sound confident, but like there are definitely days where I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, oh my God, I'm just doing this. So like I'm in tights all the time now. And like,
who is this guy?
Like, it's not how I would have imagined my life 20 years ago. I will say I'm not complaining at all. And if you're not complaining, that means you must be doing something
good. Yeah.
Everyone else is complaining. I think. I don't know. I'm in an imaginary world, so I actually don't know what everyone else is doing. But I imagine they might be complaining because, like, a 9-to-5, that could be a stagnant job where I mean, I would complain endlessly about that.
This is why, if you're bogged down by your job, come see Nutcracker, One-Man Nutcracker, in 1 hour.
Absolutely. And
forget about your job for an hour.
Totally. And it works. I swear. I have these. And also, what's really been cool this year, so many returnees. I didn't get that. Like, people are like, yeah, this is my second year. I'm coming back. My third year coming back. And they're like, yeah, this is my tradition. I do this. Yeah, I come every year.
That's great.
And I'm like, wow, that's amazing because, but the thing is, they're only coming because it was built. If I had stopped at any point, this whole thing would never have been possible. And there were so many reasons for me to stop at different points, even a whole pandemic in between everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm thankful to still be embodying the Philadelphia Christmas spirit.
When you just said that, I put in my notes, you embody urgency.
Yeah, because life is finite. And, if you urgency, it's something to have every day if you can, because, again, there's a limited amount of time. So if you want to try something, probably best to give it a shot.
Absolutely. As we're taking stock at the end of the year, I think everything you've said in this conversation is like some of the most meaningful statements that I think artists need to hear and sort of remind themselves as they go into a new year, because everything that happens tries to pull our focus, and it can bog us down. We can get overwhelmed. Like some things out of our control, like really take their toll on us and weigh us down, like the election, and like whatever's going on in society and the economy, and like
the day after the
choices you want to make.
Swear to you, the day after, I was like, I can't do this show. I can't do this show. I cannot do it. It's awful. This is going to be a disaster. The idea of doing it made me sick. Mm-hmm. And then a week later, I was like, you know what? I'm doing the show. Actually, wait, I take that back.
I'm over it now.
I'm not that I'm over that at all, but then I was like, wait, why do I have to stop my show? Mm-hmm. Wait a second, I don't have to stop my show.
I know, and that's like, isn't that what they want? They want you to quit and be done with.
I'll definitely say I don't think they are huge fans of One-Man Nutcracker. I'm just kidding. I'm just gonna guess they're not even, but that's the thing. I get all types of people come to that show, and I know I have a lot of people that voted the other way probably attending, and giving them a little bit of joy this Christmas. That's hard for me.
Yeah.
But taking their money, all right, I can do that.
That's why you have to be unapologetic about you're going to buy a ticket. I'm going to put on the One-Man Nutcracker.
Yeah. But people change, so hopefully people will become more awoken or woke up.
Awaken. Yeah.
I do think we're in that. Everyone says the stupid thing of the pendulum going back and forth with conservatism, liberalism, and obviously it feels like it's going all the backwards right now. Well, if it goes backwards, that means there's only one place left for it to swing, and hopefully that means going forward again.
Yeah.
At some point, because that's how pendulums work. So that's my cautious towards it. Like, yes, it's dark days, but there will be better days in the future. And that's something to remember, because you have to take care of yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can take care of yourself by getting a ticket or two to One-Man Nutcracker, which is on stage through December 29th at the Louis Bluver Theater at the Drake. You can get tickets at realchrisdavis.com, and you can follow Chris on all the socials. If you go to the website, buy tickets first. Buy two, because theater is more fun with a +1.
I'll just say I apologize for the ticketing fee. I make no money from that. Straight to Eventbrite. But that's the cost of doing business, apparently, because everyone else always wins before you win. But I truly appreciate all the people that have been buying tickets this year and the people that have shown up. And I'll just say the crowds have been really great. So I think if you do come, you're going to have a really great time, because the vibe has been very warm and very generous. And during Christmas, such a cool thing to cultivate. Theater is community, and we're a community for that hour.
Great. Chris Davis, One-Man Nutcracker, 40-year-old ballerino, or 40 plus.
42 and a half.
40s ballerino. Go see One-Man Nutcracker. Chris Davis, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It's always great to catch up with your world. Like, I'm not like right behind you waving. It's been a lot of fun. I have my tickets, and I can't wait to see this year's iteration of One-Man Nutcracker. So thanks again for your time. It's truly a pleasure.
Thank you, Darnell.
Thank you to our guest, Chris Davis, for joining us on today's podcast. The Broad Street Review podcast is an Emory production. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us online at em3ry.com. Get involved with Broad Street Review. Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running for another year and click Donate to find out how. There, you can also find our social media links. Happy holidays from Emory and Broad Street Review. Thank you for your part in keeping the conversation going.